Hi friends, it's Nancy. Welcome back to my channel where the notions in needlework continues. So today I thought I'd pull out an oldie but a goodie and do a snippet roll. I'm going to show you a couple of ideas. So this first one I did quite a long time ago. I actually used a piece of paper and covered it with fabric strips, like scraps of fabric. Cut it into strips and then sewed those strips together. And then went back in with buttons and embroidery, some trim, these crochet flowers, and then layered laces on top and stitched them in place, mostly by hand. Looks like it's mostly by hand. So this one's all purples, pinks, and yellows. And there's a lot of vintage fabric in here, vintage trims in here. And I used part of this in a, look at the little cross stitches. I used part of this little vintage button, little ruffle, in a journal I made a long time ago, probably pre-COVID, and this has just been hanging around ever since. This one I used embroidery stitches over rickrack. So there's that. Then there's this other one. So this one, there's no additional stitching on it right now, but I have used bits of this to make like a closure on a journal. So I'll wrap it around a journal and then put 2 snaps or something there. But I will embellish the strip with buttons or embroidery stitches or whatever, extra pieces of lace appliques. So this is just a starter. I thought, well, let's do a little demo of how to do that. This one here I used tea-dyed fabric. This one I've just got some plain old muslin, and I've torn it into 2-inch, 2.5-inch, let's call it 2 1/4. It's probably the width of the fabric, whatever. It doesn't matter, because if it's too long, I can cut it off. If it's not long enough, I can add on another hunk. I have a box of scraps here, and I want to stick to mostly neutrals, so I'm not going to put black on there. I'm not going to put this ribbon on there. I'm not even going to put that ribbon on there. So I can eliminate the golds and the colors and just go right into some neutrals. And I've put a folder here just to glue on. So right now I'm just using plain old glue stick, but I can throw in some stitches later. Grab some scissors here. Some of these things are just too small, but maybe I might want to layer those together to make maybe I want to make like a little cluster or something, a little tag topper. So it doesn't take a lot of glue to, set these things at home. And I will be going back in to do some hand stitches. So this is definitely a slow stitch Sunday kind of a project. Maybe there's some holiday wintertime movies on the telly this afternoon, or an old classic. I like to keep it pretty flat. This one is slightly more dimensional than I would ordinarily use. I just want to make sure I get it on the right side. I'm trying to stay awake. I had a dreadful night. See, like these bits would be great to use in a strip. Like, look how cool that would be there. But I want neutral. Ooh, there's a little ribbon. There's a little fabric ruffle. Why do I have this big piece in here? This is meant for scraps, not... Put that away. It's a little too yellow, isn't it? Here's something fancy. So it's not necessary to think too much about any of this. Oh, here's kind of a fun piece. And maybe every once in a while you want to do a full strip across just to give it some continuity. I would suggest not this one though. It's got a little stain there that I'd like to cover up. Chopping these little colored bits out. Just gonna cut a little of that out. It's a little ugly. That's a good one to add in later. Ooh, that might be fun as an embellishment later. Aha, here's a big chunk of crochet. Okay, so I'm going to carry on doing just this bit of collaging on all these scraps of lace, and I have a shoebox full, so like I said, some of them are not going to work at all, but I still don't mind having them on hand. So let me carry on here. Be back in just a second. Let's get started here. So I've just got some ordinary sewing thread. I could have used my machine and stitched some lines here, just to sort of baste everything together, but I've decided to go by hand just for the pure enjoyment of doing some slow stitching. I've also pulled a few other things. I've got a couple of neutral shades of embroidery thread. I have some buttons, I have some rickrack, I have some little trims and appliques, I have bits of lace and ribbon, I've got beads, I got it all going on. And I can always get more. So that, my friends, is a needle for my embroidery. But like I said, I'm just taking little stitches to do big basting stitches, just to hold everything together. I'll probably also trim off. This is not a quick project. This is a project you dedicate time to. So there's no point in trying to rush it. If you're not somebody that enjoys the intensity of hours of work, this is not for you. But, you know, I think about those of us who have lots of experience knitting or cross stitch. Now there was a lot of hours and hours of work. I've seen recently people who do diamond painting, you know, with the little shiny gem things. I'm sure that that is intense. A lot of things are. I wonder what it is we enjoy about that. Like, during COVID, I did a lot of jigsaw puzzles. Not something I ever did. We maybe, as a kid, we do maybe one jigsaw every year at Christmas. It would get spread on the table and we'd spend hours elbow to elbow going through each of the pieces to, you know, brushing the crumbs out of the way. So, I mean, don't look at a project like this as hard. It's not hard. I mean, how hard is it? It just takes time. And it's very soothing and fulfilling. So don't let that scare you. I'm just going to work in sort of a haphazard fashion. I'll start at one end, do a couple of inches, then move along. I got under there. Felt lumpy. Got a lot on my mind these days. Kids are going through a lot of changes. My wee lad out in Victoria is looking for an opportunity to relocate back home. And I've begged him to let me help him, but he won't let me help him. And I said, I know things. I got connections. I have skills. I can help you. No. Oh, well, you like to see them independent. You do. You do like to see them independent, but you also don't like to see them struggle. Ugh. I'm just going to tie a little knot here so that I don't run the risk of getting anything pulled taut. And I'm going to trim some of that away. All right. The first thing I want to do, actually, maybe not the first. Okay. So I want to stitch something over this bit here. I don't like how it looks. I'm just reorganizing it so the white's over top of the cream color, the taupey. There we go. That's better. And I have this piece of crochet, and I thought I would sew that right there. I could glue it down a bit. I'm not going to. Just going to pin this down a bit. So I'm doing tiny little hand stitches. Just fasten this down. I don't have to do a ton of work because stitch work, I mean, because it's not like this is going to be worn or washed. It's just purely decorative. This can be a belly band on a journal page. It could be a closure like we talked about earlier. Or it could be something you just put on a spool to decorate your space. Or maybe it's a project that's a little bit ongoing. So maybe you'll just, at the end of every month, take a look at what lace scraps have accumulated and start adding them to your snippet roll. I wouldn't be terribly afraid to do lots of layers of lace. I mean, that's a thing. I think the most important part is to make sure you have a solid layer in the background, and then you can put more layers on top and more embellishments on top, like beads or buttons. So this one, there's these big spaces in between the spokes of the wheel. And I thought that might be the opportunity to do something fun and decorative. So let me just finish this bit up. I was thinking about putting little buttons in each of the little openings there, but they did not look good. Let me just show you. Like it didn't sit in, it just set on. And I thought, ugh. So I've put a paper flower there and a little button, which I'm going to stitch in place. But I just wanted to show you this. This is DMC floss. And it's been around a while. I don't know how old when it was made, but in almost all cases, when I get DMC floss, it still has this label on it, and it shows you which end to pull the thread from the skein. So here's this has never had anything taken out of it, but it has a hangy end, and if you pull it, there's no problems. No tangles. I'm going to get some thread prepped here because I want to put a little piece of rickrack here. Maybe we'll glue it down. Let's sew the button first. Getting things out of order, my girl. I'm just using ordinary thread for this button. If I wanted something a little more decorative, I could use embroidery thread and tie it tie the knot on the top, but not a big deal for me. I'm not happy with this needle. I think this needle is getting tossed because it feels like there's a burr in the needle that's catching. Usually I care very deeply what the back looks like in my stitching, but not in this case. It's not going to be anything artistic about the back, purely functional. I mean, it's still going to be neat and tidy in that, I mean, I won't have great big hunks of thread haphazardly spread across it. I think you know what I mean, though. Okay, put you there. Pulling 2 strands, 2 plies. I can hear Doug snoring. He's having an afternoon siesta. You can use 2 or 3 ply. Okay, I said I was going to glue. All right. I'm just cutting it extra long. When I'm done sewing that down, then I will cut the ends off and seal them with a little bit of white glue. Now, before I move along, if I wanted to make this longer, I have not stitched the final edge of this lace down. That's because if I want to make it longer, I will adhere that and then keep the collage going. But so for right now, that's the way that is. And I'm going to start right in this very lowest dip. Oh, I forgot to put a knot. And then I'll go over to this low dip. Just getting it stitched down and secure. And then we'll go back the other way. Actually, I'm going to do straight across as well, and then have groups of 3 stitches. No particular plan, just laying in stitches. One more. I'll just tie a little knot down here. Now, that almost looks pale green, doesn't it? Now, what I could do, conceivably, is put a little button there. There. You're a little too big. Okay, I'm gonna glue those down. And I will endeavor to make the holes go in a row. Whoop. Can't make it do anything. Here we go. Ah! Let's just hold it for a second. Turn around. Already lost the button. Maybe I'll let that dry for a minute. Move up here. I'm just going back to the idea of some big basting stitches to hold the edges together. Keep an eye on my little flowers down there, make sure they don't go anywhere. So small stitch on the top, larger bite on the bottom. Turn that over to do a little knot and then go down. I do have some pretty little things that I can stitch down. So for example, I might do that right there. I don't know if you saw that I put these a row of stars there. I've also got these big pieces. This one's a little tatted heart or flower. I have a giant pineapple. Looks grubby. Anyway, so I think we've done enough for one day, and maybe I'll do a check-in every video or two, just to sort of give you an idea where I am in the project, and we'll just see how far I get, and if I come up with any really amazingly creative ideas. Anyway, take care of yourselves. I hope you're having a great Sunday, and that you have plans to have some cozy time doing a little bit of slow stitch. Take care. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.